Labor movements. English workers are unhappy and exploited by the bourgeoisie. Workers must rebel against the bourgeoisie to improve their conditions. The bourgeoisie views workers as property and will fight to maintain their power. English workers are passionate and less calculating than the bourgeoisie. Workers' only outlet for their energy is to oppose their oppressive conditions. This opposition often takes the form of violence and crime. Early forms of worker rebellion included crime and destroying machinery. The legalization of trade unions in 1824 provided a new avenue for worker resistance. Trade unions aimed to negotiate better wages, limit apprenticeships, and support unemployed workers. Unions organized strikes and federations to achieve their goals. Unions use strikes as a means to achieve their goals. Strikes can be partial or general. Lawful means of striking are often ineffective due to non-union workers or members who betray the union. Unions often face legal challenges and defeats due to the power of the bourgeoisie. Strikes cannot change the fundamental economic law of supply and demand. Unions are limited in their power against major economic forces. Strikes often end badly for workers due to hunger and lack of resources. Workers strike to protest against deteriorating conditions and assert their humanity. Strikes are the first attempt by workers to abolish competition amongst themselves. The destruction of competition among workers threatens the rule of property and current economic laws. Abolishing competition among workers requires them to go further and abolish competition altogether. Workers are increasingly aware of the negative impacts of competition on their lives. They recognize that competition among capitalists also harms them through commercial crises. Unions contribute to the animosity between workers and the property-owning class. This animosity sometimes leads to violent acts, such as vitriol attacks, shootings, and explosions. The bourgeoisie strongly opposes unions, highlighting their negative economic impact on workers. Dr. Ure, a staunch opponent of unions, views them as detrimental to manufacturers and the economy. The invention of the Iron Man, an automatic mule, was a response to worker unrest and aimed to restore order and maintain Britain's industrial dominance. The Iron Man caused fear among the workers and suppressed their power. The invention of new machines was often a direct response to worker resistance and strikes. The bourgeoisie blames strikes on agitators and troublemakers, rather than recognizing the legitimate grievances of workers. Strikes are incredibly frequent in England, highlighting the widespread conflict between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. Strikes serve as a training ground for workers, preparing them for the inevitable decisive battle. The courage and determination of English workers are evident in their willingness to endure hardships during strikes. English workers demonstrate their courage when fighting for specific social goals, as seen in the attack on Burley's Mill. The law is viewed differently by the bourgeoisie and the working class. The bourgeoisie sees the law as protecting their interests, while the working class sees it as a tool of oppression. The power of the police is limited when workers have a clear and united objective. English workers do not respect the law, but submit to its power when necessary. They propose the People's Charter as a replacement for the existing legal system. Chartism is the organized form of their opposition to the bourgeoisie. The Charter demands democratic reforms for the House of Commons, which could lead to the overthrow of the entire English constitution. Chartism is a working-class movement with both political and social goals. The movement gained momentum in the late 1830s and early 1840s, with widespread agitation and calls for revolt. The working-class Chartists focused on social issues like poverty and working conditions. The Anti-Corn Law League, initially allied with the Chartists, shifted its focus towards the repeal of the Corn Laws, causing a rift between the two groups. The crisis of 1842 led to renewed agitation, with both the bourgeoisie and the working class participating. The bourgeoisie attempted to use the crisis and the workers' unrest to achieve their own goals, but the workers resisted being used as tools. The workers' revolt ultimately failed due to a lack of clear goals and unity, and the bourgeoisie ultimately sided with the government against the workers. The bourgeoisie, after initially supporting the workers' revolt, quickly turned against them and sided with the government. This led to a decisive split between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, with the Chartists focusing on workers' rights and the bourgeoisie on free trade. Chartism became a purely working-class movement, advocating for social reforms and the 6 points of the People's Charter. The Chartists differed from previous political movements due to their focus on social issues and class struggle. English socialism emerged alongside Chartism, offering alternative solutions to poverty and social injustice. While English socialism had limitations, it played a crucial role in the development of the working-class movement. The working-class movement was divided between Chartists and socialists, with the potential for future unification. Workers established their own educational institutions to counter the influence of the bourgeoisie. The working class showed a keen interest in intellectual and philosophical works, often surpassing the bourgeoisie in their understanding. The factory system and industrialization played a crucial role in developing a strong proletarian consciousness among workers. The working class recognized itself as a distinct class with unique interests and principles, separate from the bourgeoisie.